back to Double Your Sales Now. Super excited because I have two special guests today, and we're going to talk about the power of influence on your exponential sales results with Dr. Heather Johnson and Erikas Johnson. So good morning, ladies. I'm so excited that you're here with me today.
Good morning. Thrilled to be here, Ursula.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you because we have not talked about influence on our sales results. So I think this is going to be really beneficial for our listeners all over the world. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. I want to invite you to take out a pen and piece of paper because I guarantee you're going to want to take some notes. So get ready for that. A couple of housekeeping things before we dive in. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and leave us a review. We'd love it. It helps other people learn more about the show. And then after you leave the review, go back to salescoachnow.com/giveaway. Let us know you left a review, and we have some special gifts for you around my book, One Great Goal. So we'd love to support you with that. If you haven't yet, go to salescoachnow.com/gift. We have a PDF there, 6 Secrets to Doubling Your Sales. It's just a little PDF just to support you right now. And I have a very special announcement. In the month of September, we are launching a new course called the 2X Intensive. It's 2 days. And if your business is over 200,000 and you're looking to double, even during this very interesting time, you can go to salescoachnow.com/apply, fill out some information, send it to us, and we'll get back to you with more details. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our guest today. And I've been on a journey with Erikas this last over 6 months, almost 8 months now. Because of the pandemic, we made some shifts and we extended our programs, which has been a lot of fun. So Erikas, and then I'll introduce Dr. Heather. So Erikas is a 3rd generation KPG, has been living influence from a very young age as both her mom and grandpa exposed her to their corporate events and keynotes on influence. She's also a graduate from St. Olaf, Yaya. Very similar degrees. She's got a psych degree and she's completing a master's in psychology, which is the exact same path I took, which was a lot of fun. And Erikas meets people where they are and applies her professional and clinical experience to help business leaders and emerging professionals develop their influence and emotional intelligence, which we're going to hear more about today. So Erikas, welcome. And we have Dr. Heather Johnson. She is a keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and author, and she lives and breathes influence. She's been helping people develop their ability to influence for over 25 years. There are many costly mistakes people make that prevent them from driving results, getting the yes they need, or just inspiring people to take action. So Heather can shine a light on blind spots, and she also helps people make changes that enable them to get the results they want. And her success depends on her ability to influence, and yours does too, which is perfect. So, all right, I want to dive in. So Dr. Heather Johnson, I want to start with you. Share with us your journey. Tell us a little bit about, the company. Was it with your father that it started and then it was handed to you? Start there.
Okay. Yeah, a long time ago is when this started. My dad actually founded the company, Don Klassen. He founded Klassen Performance Group back in 1990. So it's been a long time. It's been 30 years. And I never intended actually to be part of the company. I was getting my degree in clinical psychology and I planned to open up a practice and work clinically. And my dad, turns out, is a very, very influential man. He convinced me to co-facilitate a course with him years ago. And that's how it started for me, one step at a time. I facilitated that course. I had leaders in the course then say to me, hey, can you develop a course on stress for me? Can you do this? And I ended up saying yes and grew my business organically underneath the umbrella of Klassen Performance Group.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. And I want to hear more about your dad's influence on you. Curious about that. But first, so Klassen Performance Group was really started about that idea of helping people increase their influence. And for you, though, you were on a clinical psychology path, very different than, so working with people who, might be presenting with depression or other challenges that, at that time, over to the corporate world and helping people really grow their influence and work in, whatever they have in front of them at the time. So I'm sure there must have been a little bit of which direction am I going to go? How did you make the choice to keep going on the corporate route?
What's interesting there is that I grew up in a family business. So before my dad founded the Klassen Performance Group, he owned 27 department stores around Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah. So I grew up working in those department stores for as long as I can remember. I mean, when you have a family business, you're working as soon as you can move or talk. They give you some kind of a job. So I understood business challenges and people challenges almost indirectly as I was growing up. And then to your point, as I focused more on clinical issues, it shifted, but we're all people. You know, if you've got clinical issues, you've also got a job. Some of these things overlap. So it was a seamless transition for me back into the business world. And although I don't help people with their depression per se, or any other clinical issue, I can help them manage certain behaviors or influence better, or relationships or anxiety around things, especially regarding influence. So there's more overlap than I ever imagined there would be.
Yeah, I can appreciate your journey. I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. I don't talk a lot about it on the show. So I have some of the clinical training, and I did my hours that, of working with our clients. And so looking back though, I agree with you. Like I'm a big mental health advocate, and I talk a lot about on the show, my family has a history of depression and suicide. And I feel like we don't talk about it enough, like in the workplace, like we all take our stuff to work and we've all dealt with those things. So I find that overlap happens all the time. And I was curious about your take on it. So thank you for sharing that.
Even with marriage and family issues, like you said, you don't leave those at home. They come to work as well. So there's a lot of overlap.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to come back to you in a second. So Erika, I want to hear about your journey, your third generation. So what was your journey like?
Yes. So similar to Heather, I also grew up in an entrepreneurial family, obviously, with Klassen Performance Group. And I also fell in love with psychology. So I planned on going to school for a clinical degree and then practicing clinically, maybe doing some research. And I had a clinical job, and with that job, I started doing some extra projects for Klassen on the side, and I fell in love with it. I love helping people, and at first I was skeptical about how it would feel to work in a corporate environment. And once I started having these interactions with our clients and seeing the difference that having, your emotional intelligence and understanding influence can make, not only in your career, but in your life, your communication in general, it just all fell into place for me that following this path was the best path for me personally. And so then I switched over from clinical to applied psychology, and here we are.
Here we are. That's awesome. I love that story. I love the third generation too. That's so cool. So going back, so Heather, I want to jump in with you. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between speaking and influencing, because I think a lot of times we can think it's the same thing. And for all of our listeners out there in business and in sales, like I want you to listen, like how does this apply to you in, in this different time that we're in, especially?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people do come into our courses thinking that they are one and the same, and they're not. When people think about speaking, they're usually focused on what they want to say, and they get stuck in their heads sometimes. They get in their way, and they don't actually influence, which is more about the impact you're going to have. It's an important paradigm shift. So one of the things that we teach people to do is stop focusing so much on getting the words exactly right. Stop judging your success by whether or not you got through a certain kind of a script. Instead, shift your focus to influence and think about the impact you're going to have on how somebody thinks or how they feel or how they behave. And then start judging your success upon whether or not you had that impact, not whether you got through a script.
That's really powerful. I might have to take this clip and pull that into some of our sales training and promote you there, because that piece of when we work with our clients on their sales scripts, we can get so locked into the perfection. Like there's this perfect script and it's not. We're always like, no, it's about being authentic. It's about speaking from here and really making that connection. So how, we know you work a lot with sales professionals, which really is also, for our business people. Is there a common mistake that you see people making when it comes to this world of influence and talking?
It's a great question, because we do see some commonalities in different positions. And when people come to one of our courses, they know they're going to get filmed. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Even senior executives will get very nervous. Salespeople, however, are the group who will often come in and they're confident and they'll say, hey, I talk for a living. I love talking. I can get up here and talk all day. And there's this confidence and this comfort that comes with it. The mistake that they're making is thinking that because they're comfortable, they're effective. It's not always the case. So what we help salespeople do is not necessarily increase their comfort or confidence unless the individual needs that, but figure out how they can rein in some of that talking and connect with people and then deliver their message in a way that others get the main points that they need. So we help them clarify their focus and deliver it effectively.
Excellent. So I want to pop over to you, Erika, because Erika, you're living the sales life, right? You do a lot of things in the company, and one of them is sales related. So how has this idea of influence impacted you and in your sales communication and how you connect with clients? Or what else can you share with us?
Yes, I would say that there's two main ways that the influence piece fits into my sales experience. One, it's being a better listener. We talk a lot about listening in our courses, and that's a critical part of influence, is how you listen. And so that's helped me be able to listen intentionally and take a step back, which one helps me get the information I need, and then also helps build that relationship. People, it feels good when you're listened to. So that's been critical and has had a big impact. And the second way that influence has impacted my sales experience is by understanding my audience or my client. If you don't think about your audience or your client first, you can't tailor your message and you're not going to be able to help them in a way that's meaningful. So for me, those two areas of influence have changed the way I think about sales.
Sure. So listening and also really trying to understand so you can develop the relationship. And what have you noticed during this time of COVID? And we were still in this pandemic, and it's a very interesting time, right? And for many people, uncertain, for others, very turbulent. For business owners, it's been a wild ride. What have you noticed about the importance of listening during this time, especially?
Oh, it's even more impactful and important to be listening now. People are feeling so many different ways, and you can't assume that the way you're feeling is the way that somebody else is feeling. And so it really is listening to understand their experience, their current needs, because most of them have changed over the last, handful of months here. So that's been important. And learning how to listen, over the phone or virtually too is different. It's different communicating this way. So it's been even that more necessary to make the extra effort to really be present.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the three of us sharing our psychology backgrounds, and just, we all received a lot of education and listening. And I never knew when I was getting my undergrad degree and then my master's in psychology, how important the skill of active listening would really be. And it's, of course, it's something we talk a lot about in our sales programs of what does it even mean to be an active listener? Now, in this time, when we're teaching our sales camp courses, we're sharing with our clients that it's even more important. Like, in the past, we would never say, open up with checking in, because sometimes that can take you down a certain path. Now, check in, right? Yeah. Check in. How is your prospect doing? How is your client doing? How are things that, are they okay, right? And so it's truly shifted how, teaching, like even how we teach sales in this different time. And I just find that people are eager to connect. We have clients telling us that cold calling in the past was tough. And now everybody, have said people are answering their phones and they want to connect and they just want to be heard. So hopefully everyone's hearing how important it is, like just to pick up the phone and connect with people right now. And even more than that, I want to spend a second more on this idea of influence So Heather, in the sales process, we talked about the mistakes, but if there's like one major thing that you could share, I'm totally putting you on the spot, by the way, one major thing or one shift that people could make that would increase their influence in the world of sales, what would you say that is?
In part, I would say that it's making that emotional connection. Because again, one of the mistakes that I'll see people make is focusing so much on what they want to say and getting through that content so they can get to the ask at the end, make the sale, move on to the next person. And they can miss a genuine emotional connection. And there are a number of ways that we teach people how to do that. Again, you said it earlier, Ursula, too. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine. It can't be a step in the process that you just check off. So make that emotional connection. And especially that ties back to what you and Erica were just talking about regarding listening. And you said, Ursula, people want to be listened to. That helps you connect as long as you're doing it in that genuine way. So don't just think about the sale, think about a real emotional connection, because it'll make you stand out from others who are going through a process.
Yeah. So I want to dig into that a little bit, because I think in especially sales professionals in the corporate world, I know when I was growing up in the sales world, we were really taught to keep it professional, keep your boundaries really clear, right? Like, don't ever talk about personal stuff. I mean, and I'm dating myself, this was a while ago, but even now I feel like that's sort of out there. Like, people aren't sure how to connect, or what does it mean? I mean, for those of us who have more training in the world of psychology, we might be a little more comfortable asking some of those open-ended questions. But what are some easy questions, or, what advice can you give someone on, is it about being personal? Like, when you say connection, what do you mean?
There's different ways to do it. There are non-verbal ways to do it, and then there are strategies that you can use to do it through story or through humor or through just sharing a little bit of yourself. And to your point, you don't have to share everything, but what are you comfortable sharing? The more you share, the bigger the connection will be, as long as it's shared. So those are some of the ways that you can do it through the conversation. But then the nonverbal ways, the powerful combination non-verbally is eye contact and a smile. That makes this emotional connection non-verbally. And we live in a virtual world right now. So if you're on camera, that's going to help you. If you're not, then it's in part the tone of your voice. But if you can be on camera and you can remember to make the eye contact and smile, that's going to go a long way to helping with that emotional connection as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I definitely have noticed that being on camera all the time on Zoom, as we are these days, has reminded me to smile more often. And of course, we know what it does for us, right? You feel better when you smile. It sends those great chemicals off. And so it's a great thing. But I feel like Zoom has helped, Zoom and all the other tools that are out there, truly have helped us become better at connecting, because we have to actually look at our faces. So, all right. Yeah, go ahead.
One piece that we find a lot of people struggle with is looking at the camera rather than looking at the videos. If you want to make that eye contact, it has to be with the camera. And because that's hard for a lot of people, one of the things that we've suggested is to just take a sticky note and put it by the camera with a smiley face on it. Right. It helps draw people's eyes to the camera and gives them, might be a silly face, but still a face to look at instead of just a light.
Yeah, that's so true. I have a hard time doing that. I'm always looking, I'm like trying to stare into people's eyes. And so sometimes all over the board, but I go back and look at it and I'm thinking, what was I looking at? So it definitely shows. And it's one of those things that we have to switch right now. So I want to go back to, I want to dig into your business a little bit, right? So the pandemic, I know for me, I'll just share for me. When the pandemic hit, I had a week of, I'll say, I don't want to say quite terror, but I kind of thought the business was done. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were hearing just a lot of stories, right? And I sat down with my husband. I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I've never been here, not sure. So it was about a week of kind of feeling sorry for myself. And then I had this awakening. I was out for a walk with my little dachshund. And kind of this bolt of lightning, Ursula, get with it. This is what you teach. You were born for this time. So I went back, and in a few days, we took everything virtual, and it's actually been a huge blessing in our business. And I think there's certain things that we're going to continue that we've shifted in the pandemic. So we kind of have the before and after. What was it like for the two of you? and maybe Eric, I'll start with you and then we'll pop down to Heather. Like what showed up for you? What were you thinking? And then what kind of shifted?
Yes. So I know for me, after the initial shock, my first two thoughts were, how am I going to maintain the relationships? Because, you know, most of our business, we've been lucky, it's referral based. And then the second big hurdle I had to overcome, well, we had to overcome, was going virtual. You know, our course is about influence. How do you do that when you're not in person? And that was our mindset that we had to work through here. And Heather will speak a little bit more on the specifics about, you know, how we did that, how we made that switch. But to your point about it being a bit, you know, having that benefit, we were forced to grow quicker and make these changes that, you know, were uncomfortable to make. And we overcame that. You know, we started maintaining our relationships with virtual happy hours, as so many people are doing. And we picked up the phone more frequently. And, you know, we started using video to communicate our more important messages on social media. So it was a switch. And I did go back to the techniques you taught in sales camp of, you know, overcoming those limiting beliefs. And I really leaned on that to make these switches. And, you know, now we're in a position where we've created a course that Heather will talk more about, where it's not just our course, but virtual. It's a whole new experience.
Cool.
So that was our pivot.
Yeah, excellent. I love that. See, you know, for us, as we shifted, we found that there were things that were actually better virtually that we couldn't accomplish before, and that hadn't even been a thought. So many neat things coming out of this. What about for you, Heather? What would you add to that?
Well, similar to what you said, Ursula, I mean, when this hit, as a business owner, looking out at the calendar over the year and watching everything get wiped off was jarring, to say the least. And then knowing that our business model called for us to be in person, it's like, what do we do now? How do we go from here? And you can't, at least we couldn't really plan, because everything would get shifted. So initially it was, all right, we'll shift it a few months because it will surely be over in 2 to 3 months, right?
Right.
That didn't happen. And so we had to accept that. And, you know, Erica mentioned limiting beliefs. I had one personally around this. I did not believe that we could get our clients the same results virtually that we could in person. In fact, for years, as competitors of ours went online and went virtual, I resisted because of that limiting belief. I've seen courses that, you know, online that just weren't good. And I thought, well, that's how it's done. We can't get results doing that. And clients validated that belief, saying, no, we need you here. And so I resisted. Well, COVID said you can't do that anymore. So what we had to do was to overcome this belief by saying, not can we get the same the same results, not asking it like that, but changing the language and saying, how will we get the same results? And knowing that our path is going to be different, but our clients expect certain results from us, and we have to figure it out. And so that led us into this new territory that was absolutely uncomfortable, but I kept repeating over and over, and Erica, I'm sure will say this too, she probably got sick of hearing it, that it's through discomfort that you grow and that we are growing. It hurts a little bit, but we're growing. And the vision slowly became clearer. And we developed this course Erica referred to, Unleash Your Influence, not as a replacement. We cannot bring a course and just put it online or do it virtually and expect the same results. We had to find something new, and that vision got clearer and clearer. And in the end, this solution became even more robust than what we'd been offering. Because, you know, as you said, Ursula, there are things that you can do virtually that you can't do in person. And we discovered those and we leveraged those. So now our course isn't a pandemic response. This is going to be something that is just part of what we offer indefinitely. We're really, really excited about it.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yes, it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm hearing the same story over and over again of, you know, what people have shifted and changed and pivoted to, and what we've been able to innovate, right? Truly, it's innovation. And asking a different question. I want to make sure everyone heard that. Like, you started to ask a different question, not can we, but how will we make this as robust or even more, or how will we create this experience? And I think that's such an important reminder that when we're really stuck, a lot of times we just have to ask a different question in a different way. So, oh my goodness, so many questions. I know, so you have this new course, things are shifting. How have your sales strategies shifted, or are there, like, what are the top 2 sales strategies that you're using now? And Erica, maybe you want to start, and then Heather can tag on to that one too.
Yes. Well, overall, way back last year, I attended the sales camp and I've been doing coaching with you, Ursula. And for me, what that really brought into the picture was having that structure and that sales structure. And that has been critical to us, especially during COVID, to make sure we're having those touch points with our clients and helping give us the confidence to reach out and make those calls during uncertain times. And so that structure has just been, everything. It's been the scaffolding we've been using to pull all of our tools together here. So it's been huge for us. Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about sales structure, if you would. Like, what does that mean? Does that affect your day? Is that how you think about your week, your month? Is it how you follow up?
All of it. So yes, it is. I now have times blocked out during my week, during my days, where I am making these phone calls. Whereas before I would say, I can do that at the end of the week. I can do that next week. And now it's easy. I don't have to think about it. There's no stress around it. So I make the calls and then I have it right away to schedule up to and follow up in my calendar. And the structure just isn't something I thought about before in that way. And so that's made all the difference. And not just phone calls too, but our online structure. We had all these pieces. We have the website, social, phone calls, and those were all separate pieces for us. And so the course really helped us put those pieces together so they're cohesive and, create that follow-up.
Yeah, excellent. Heather, what would you add anything to that, or other things you've seen shift?
Absolutely. Because before we were largely referral based. I mean, we're so lucky that in our 30-year history, 80-90% of our business is referral based or word of mouth. And we're so lucky to have that. But then our business model began to change. And so our sales model also needed to change. And we said, okay, we need some structure around this now that we didn't have before. And so I asked Erica to go out, find what's the best training that we can get here. Erica found you, which was awesome. And so we sent her to the sales camp. And as she said, that's given us the structure that we needed. And we're still practicing, we're still putting this into place. But what's awesome is that it's there and we'll get better and better at using that. And from my perspective, one of the things I loved is Erica came out of that training with her confidence increased by, 10, 20 times, ready to roll, excited and passionate and just confident that she could do it. So it's not only that we added a more structured sales process, but we're also using webinars, starting to use webinars here. We've never done that before. And so you opened up our eyes to a way that we could reach people that we otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to reach. Absolutely critical now that we're in COVID, because what before was word of mouth or organic, it came because I was with people. And it was very easy then to have those conversations, and it just happened. Can't be with people. So now this structure, not only Erica's sales process, but also having the webinars will be game changing for us.
Yeah. That makes my heart so happy, because so many people need what you have. And at our company, when my team gets together, we always talk about who we can help so that you can have the domino effect, right? The more people we help, the bigger impact you make, and we all make the world a better place. And so I just think there's There's just so much about influence that I'm sure I could learn from you and all of our listeners could learn from you. And I know I've already asked a few questions around that area, but Heather, I want to start with you. So what are 2 to 3 strategies you can share about influence, maybe that you haven't shared yet? We've talked a lot about sales professionals. Maybe it's more about leaders, but I want to give you an opportunity to share anything else that we might have missed. And then Erica, I'll pop up to you.
Okay. In terms of how we're helping our clients.
Yeah. So just like yeah, for sure.
Okay, absolutely. One of them that really resonates with people is this idea of burning the boat.
Ooh.
And maybe you are familiar with the story that comes from Alexander the Great way back in 334 BC when he and his army invaded what's now India. And they get to the shores and Alexander the Great sees some trepidation there as they're outnumbered and up against this, huge challenge. And so he turned to his army and he said, burn the boats. And they looked at him like he was nuts. And he said, we are either going home in their boats or we're not going home at all. It's the idea of 100% commitment. So how does that tie here? One of the things that I see and I'm hearing about from the leaders that I work with is that people are looking backwards. People are wondering, when can we go back? And we're not going back, not at this point. We have to move forward, even though we don't know exactly what our new normal is going to be or when we're going to get there. We have to stop looking backwards. So one of the things we're doing is we're helping leaders and we're helping individuals burn the boats. And there's a lot of symbolic ways that we're working with people to do this. So many creative ways. We have had people build matchbook boats and light them on fire. We have had people who have drawn boats and ripped them up and burned them. It doesn't all require fire, but a lot of people have some pretty creative ways to do that. They have to burn the boat. Otherwise, they will not move forward. So that's one key for people. And a second one that I would say is to actively build resilience. We have to in ourselves, and if you're a leader, in your team. Zig Ziglar famously said that it's not how far you fall, but how high you bounce. And again, Erica might be a little sick of me saying that, but it's something that really resonates with me, that I really believe in. And, 2020, the pandemic, it's knocked us all down. We have all fallen. So now it's about the bounce. And we have to remind ourselves of that. It's not easy to do. It takes effort to do. So one of the things that we do is we help people actively build that resilience. And I don't think we're done falling. We might get halfway back up and get knocked down by something again. It's going to happen to us before we're through this thing. So the more resilience we can build in ourselves and our teams, the higher we're ultimately going to be able to bounce and thrive. So those are 2 that I know I've been focused on. Erica, maybe you've got something that you'd add to it.
Yeah, I would add that, especially with our new course that we launched, the Unleashing Your Influence, we've been working with people on influencing virtually. It is different than influencing in person. And most people fundamentally understand that, but might not be able to put their finger on what to do differently, how to get that same impact, those results that they get in person. And, we've been reaching out to, past and current clients who may have gone through past courses with us and helping them be influential virtually and adapt. So that's been big for us. And on the same wavelength, we've also been reaching out to a new market, new audiences online. Putting our courses as online has given us the opportunity to reach, emerging leaders, young professionals who want the opportunity to develop, but might not have had that opportunity, to fly to Minnesota and get that professional development at their level. So those 2 ways, or those 2 areas, have been ways that we've pivoted and that we're supporting our clients, during COVID.
Yeah, that's great. So yes, burn the boats. I love that. I think it's a great reminder for everybody right now. Like we got to be 100% committed. And on the front end of the pandemic, we also have our clients like, are you in or out? Because either you're in 100% or like 90% is not going to get you through this. We knew that. And I had clients like we were, wrapping our arms around them on some days and it was tough, but they're still going and they're resilient, which is what you were talking about as well, Heather. And it just like so great for our listeners to hear this. And then how to be influential at a virtual world, really powerful, which ties us perfectly into what I want you to talk about next, which is tell us about your courses. I know you have some great ways to be connected. So tell us how we can take your courses from anywhere now.
Well, we can start with influence because that was the first one that we needed to find a solution for. Our clients know us as experts in influence, and we apply it in different ways, but influence. So Unleash Your Influence takes place over 8 weeks, which is an asset. We have the first group that just finished the halfway point last week, 4 weeks. And we did a little check-in with them because, again, it's our first time doing this, and asked them, how is it going? How else can we add value here? 100% of them said it's fabulous and they are happy that they did it virtually, not in person, because they were able to use the spaced repetition that we built into the course. So they access a video first for content, and then they get a week to practice, and then they have a webinar every Wednesday. And on the webinar, we're able to go deeper and discuss, and they can say, hey, I tried something. Here's the results I have. What recommendations do you have to do better? And then on the webinar, they get an opportunity to practice with their peers and get feedback. We can't do all of that in 2 days. So we've got 8 weeks of practice and more content, and ultimately a more robust course. But the purpose is the same. By the end of this, they will absolutely be more visually even influential. And we are already seeing that at week 4. So we're thrilled. That's Unleash Your Influence.
And how does someone sign up for that? How do they get more information?
Oh, we've got a website, and I think we'll provide you with the link, Ursula. So it'll be very easy to just click on the link and get that.
We will put, so for our listeners, it will be in the show notes. I should have read my own notes again. So you will find all this information on Unleashing Your Influence, this amazing 8-week course, in the show notes. So click on it. What else do you have for our listeners? What do you want to, any other courses and or where to find you guys?
Yeah, so we also, in this pandemic, we created an influence assessment. And this is a free assessment that your listeners can take that will uncover their strengths as well as their greatest opportunities around influence. And as we've been using this, we have found that people are somewhat surprised. You know, they'll say, oh, I wasn't thinking that I needed to do that when I was influencing. And this is showing that it's an opportunity for growth for me. No wonder, you know, because I didn't even realize I needed to do that. And so the assessment alone has helped people uncover some blind spots and begin to improve. So we invite your listeners to come and take that free assessment as well.
All right, cool. So we'll have the link for that as well below. And so where do we find you on social media?
Yes, and one more offer too that we're adding for clients or listeners of your show too is a free webinar too. It's on 5 ways to unleash your virtual influence, and so that'll be launching as well. Same link on the website, on our website, to sign up for that.
And so, Erica, that's 5 ways to unleash your virtual influence.
Yes,
and that's a gift, so that's free. That'll be in the show notes as well. So take the webinar. Do the assessment, come back and do the 8-week course.
Yes, and with the webinar, each of the steps is actionable. So when the webinar is over, you'll be able to implement all 5 right away.
So exciting. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And I know you have other courses. Anything else you want to talk about, or your website to find these courses?
Yes, we are putting additional courses both online. So people who maybe they don't want to go through the entire virtual course, they just want the content, we'll offer that online. For people who just want to focus on improving their influence, there's an online course that's going to be available within about 4 to 6 weeks. And people who want to be more influential in meetings, and in virtual meetings, there will be a online course there too. So we're giving people choices, online learning, the virtual learning, and then one day we will be back in front of people and offer that as a third choice again.
Fabulous. And again, that'll all be in the show notes. And then best way to contact you, Erica, and then you, Heather.
Yes, either on LinkedIn, Erika Johnson at LinkedIn, or through our, email, which I'm sure will be in the show notes, Erica at KlassenPerformanceGroup.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Heather, what's your preference for social media? Where do you hang out?
Well, I'm on Facebook more than Erica is, but the company is on Facebook too, Klassen Performance Group. And one of the mistakes people make when they hear the name Klassen is they assume it's the pickle, and they'll spell it like the pickle. We're not the pickle. It's Klassen Performance Group. So whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or our website, Klassen Performance.
Got it.
Yeah.
Klassen Performance Group, not the pickle. Got it. All right. It's all about influence. I want to thank both of you for being here today. I want to give you one last chance. Anything else you want to share, Eric? I'll let you go first, and then Heather, I'll let you wrap up.
Yeah, I just wanted to state one more time how appreciative I am for your coaching and going through your sales camp there. It really gave us the structure we needed to, champion this, the changes we're making in our business. And it's been fantastic.
Thank you. I want to say so easy to run with you because you move at 110 miles an hour. I think I would barely have to say something and you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, we're going to implement that tomorrow or like in 30 seconds. So it was a pleasure. What else, anything else you want to share with our listeners? Any last words of encouragement for them?
Oh, just, it's doing it, putting things into practice. I know personally I can read something, I can continue to find articles and continue to read, but that doesn't do any good unless I'm putting it into practice. So my number one tip would be to make an action plan for the day, for the month, for the week. And, that'll make all the difference.
That's so true. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. All right, Erica, loved having you here today. Thanks for being here. Heather, final words from you.
Yeah, I would echo what Erica just said. She said that so well. So, absolutely, we've got to take action. Learning about something, reading about something, that's the first step. But we need practice, and we need, as you know so well, Ursula, a good coach. That is what's going to help you get it over the finish line. And if you'd like to hear more about how we could potentially partner with you, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, because you guys also offer coaching, right? So someone can work privately with someone on your team. So as you move through their process on influence, you can also learn more about their coaching. Thank you both for being here. You guys are amazing. And I want to thank our listeners from all over the world. And I want to thank our sponsor. I recently hosted an interview about having difficult conversations with Steve Miska, and maybe you listened over the 4th of July weekend. So he runs a nonpartisan nonprofit called First Amendment Voice, which they're going to host their annual, which is virtual symposium in September. And Steve is offering free attendance for our listeners, and you can go to the registration page and use the promo code DYSN. You also get a free year's membership and the possibility to attend a difficult conversations workshop with me, all for free. And one of the reasons I'm sponsoring as well is because we're in an interesting time in the world. We're coming through an election year, and we're trying to bring people together. So we want to move from having difficult conversations to conversations where we can really connect. So definitely check that out. It'll be in the show notes. And also, this is a time, in our world where influence matters, leadership matters. So check out what Erica and Heather are up to with the Klassen Performance Group. Get their free things, take advantage of that. And also, I mentioned on the front end of the show, we're launching the 2X Intensive. So if you have interest in doubling your sales, your business is over 200K. This is a new course we're launching. You can go to salescoachnow.com/apply, fill it out, send us your information, and we'll get you more details. That's it for now, everybody. Thanks for being here, and make this your most epic week yet.